this is the most frustrating thing people say to me all the time on pizza tours. They say, why is it that a pizza is round and the box is square, and then you cut the pizza into triangles to eat it? And I got to tell them, all those things are wrong. Lots of pizza boxes are round in Brazil, maybe. Lots of pizzas are cut into different shapes, like all of yours, you know? It frustrates me so much that all those preconceptions are wrong. We're talking to 4 people who run pizzerias that have a focus on square pizzas. So Chris, what do you like? How do you sell? People think of pizza when you say somebody draw a picture of a pizza, they draw a circle.
Sure. What do you do? Interestingly enough, like we tried the Sicilian before, like I don't know how many years ago, maybe 7 or 8, and it didn't work. No one got it. No one understood like what it was. And then all of a sudden, I think the Detroit pizza kind of put the square pizza on the map in America anyway. People, once they started seeing that like crispy edge and everything, they were like, okay, we can have a square pizza, like as a whole, you know. Of course, there's pockets in New York where they've always had that, but I'm saying like nationwide, people finally understood it once they saw that Detroit pizza. And I think the popularity of the Detroit has definitely helped the Sicilian on our end, because when we re-released it a couple years ago, everyone got it. And now, you know, we're kind of known for that pizza, even though we've been making round pizzas since 1980. So it's really interesting and to see how it evolved and how people are more accepting of it now and willing to try it. Like I can barely keep up with the Sicilian process. You guys know I've talked to each one of you, except for Pete, I think, probably on how we do it. You know, and people call me all the time and ask me how to do it, but you know, it's a 5-day process. So you're committed, you know, and you have to do it. And I'm the only one that makes them. So I want to make sure that they're done correctly and done right at my store anyway. And, you know, it's definitely a labor of love, and you have to be committed to doing it.
I'm curious, Pete, about what Chris just said, and even what Justin said before, where people come in and they ask, oh, is this Detroit? Is this, is this that? I think Chris is right. I think Detroit brought square back. And I'm wondering what you have to say about that. How do people respond to your style of pizza and you making pizza in Pittsburgh and saying you're referencing a whole other industrial city?
Yeah, it's been great. Detroit, I would say, is definitely one of the buzzier ones. Roman also is definitely on the up and ups also. With the description and how to convince our guests of what our pizza exactly is, I kind of allow them to say whatever they want. If they want to say it's focaccia, that's cool. The words deep dish, yes, it is deep dish. That's not necessarily what you're going to eat. So we try to at least stay away from them thinking it's Chicago pizza, because it's definitely lighter than heavier. But I think Pittsburghers just find us unique because we kind of, as Justin said, we're the only privately owned Detroit style pizza company in Pittsburgh. So it's kind of one of those things where we're trying to educate, but we're just happy people are trying us. And people will walk in and say, hey, you have that thick style pizza, right? So yeah, it's 8x10. And we have little diagrams on our menu too that some people pay attention to and want to hear the whole story. And others that just like that crunchy, crispy corner slice, and that's why they're there, which is, you know, keeps us happy also.
Do you guys think that it has something to do with social media, Instagram in particular, why Detroit style has like really caught on?
I'll say this. I worked with a guy out here that did the first Detroit style. He actually sold his concept. I think that Detroit, it's not easy to make, but once you get it, you can make the same pizza every time. He sold his concept. We opened the same time. He sold his concept for like $200,000. He wasn't even busy, but a guy saw it and said, I can replicate this pizza because there's a formula to it. I think there's a formula to all of them, but there are some little nuances to every pizza that makes it a little harder to make. When he came in and showed me how to do his Detroit, it doesn't look as much like Pete's, but it's similar, but you can fabricate them a lot easier. I think that's Detroit's. It's also cheaper. It's a smaller pizza. I think it's made it easier to sell. Plus, also people people can also see that, like Roman style pizza. When I first started making it, the guy who his pizzas were $60 for a 60 by 40 tray of pizza. I think sticker shock right off the bat kill people. And then also you're selling a slice, even Kevin in Pittsburgh, you're selling a slice for $5-6 a slice because of the time and the effort that you put into it, you know, the cost of the flour and the ingredients on top. I think it scares people away. Detroit's got a perfect size, a perfect price, and it's got a way that it can be easily fabricated to mass produce Detroit style pizzas. And I think it makes it more accessible to a customer.
And if you know, we can market it in two ways. If two people walk in and they want a pizza, we can say it's perfect for two people. If a huge guy walks in and he's big and bulky and he's hungry, hey man, this pizza's perfect for you. And we get the same ring either way, or we can convince the couples to order two, try them both. You know, there's lots of ways to sell it.
Pete, are yours cut into 4 or 6 slices?
This is I cut mine in 6 because I think they're easier to share and eat, but true Detroit pizza, I believe, is cut into 4. So I've taken some flack for that, but that's one of the ones we do.
I'm just thinking of I want corners. I forgot who said it before. And you know, in 4 everyone gets a corner, but not everybody wants corners. Some people want the edge.
Right.
Scott, you hit on what the reason when I went and saw Pepe and Monty and Pasta, I was doing the 60 by 40 big pizzas. You've got tons of pizza in the middle with no corner. You cut it down to a 16 by 12 pan. Everybody gets a corner. You only got a couple, you know, nothing in the middle. Everything's a corner now. So to me, he's the guy who really showed me how to market my pizza to people like in New York that have to have a corner slice. Now everybody gets a corner slice. So I think for Detroit and the way I'm doing my Roman, corner slices are the way to go. Especially if you want people to try it for the first time, you don't want to give them a soft, soggy piece from the middle. You know, you always get that straggler piece in the middle that, you know, maybe doesn't come out as good. Now you got a good corner crispy slice on every time. So I think that helps marketing. Marketing is a big part of, I think, what we're all talking about, how you market the pizza.
And I think it's absolutely must be said, no human has done as much for marketing Detroit style pizza as Sean Randazzo. And he's someone who would absolutely be on this panel right now. And sadly, we lost him over the past year. But we have to say right now, Sean Randazzo from Detroit Style Pizza Company in Detroit really like made this thing a nationwide phenomenon. And like we're sitting here talking about square pizza, mostly because Detroit took off. I think you nailed it when you said that, Chris. Like Detroit put it on the map. But I do want to ask you something based on Justin made a comment before. He said, "Oh yeah, I found this flour and I got it to work for me. I'm using the Caputo Super Nuvola." Is there anything about your style that requires a specific ingredient, like grandma pizza, Detroit? Is there a specific flour or specific tomato or specific cheese that's integral to that style?
I say for the grandma, not necessarily, no. As I mentioned to you before, everybody pretty much makes their own variation of it now. For us, we prefer to use just the shredded product, low moisture, part skim, and whole milk. And as far as the tomato is concerned, you can pretty much use any tomato that's on the market that you like and season it to your liking. For Roman, I know if you're going to do high hydration, that I'm not an expert on this, but it does require a little bit of a stronger flour. So I could see that being a thing. But for a grandma pizza, I mean, you can use an all-purpose. Anything over 11% protein, I think you should be able to make a grandma pie. It doesn't necessarily require any specific kind of flour.
What about with Chris, with your Detroit? I'm sorry, with your Sicilian. You say you're letting this sucker raise up to 3 inches sometimes. Is there a specific thing you're looking for in a flour that you're going to use, or tomato, or cheese?
Well, we use, I think, a pretty high protein flour. We're around 15%. So, you know, it's like I said, and what John just touched on, you know, everyone has their idea of what they think is the best toppings. And, you know, you go through, we've all done it, and we taste test all the time. And try to find out what's going to work best for everyone. And one thing that we do, I think that is different on the Sicilian is I use the sliced cheese instead of the shredded. I think it's a cleaner look. It's not as messy. I think it looks a lot better. I think the melt is a lot better. It's more controlled. So that's one thing I think that we do different than anyone else. And that's one thing that I looked into a lot when like kind of developing it. We did the shredded mozz, and I was like, what if we did the sliced? And now I do the sliced on my Detroit too. And that's how I get that real clean, like pointy edge, using the sliced mozzarella instead. So that's one thing that I think is different with us. And that one thing that I definitely worked on and went back and forth with.
Pete, what about Detroit style? You mentioned earlier brick cheese or cheddar cheese forming that edge crust. What's the scoop with that? Specific ingredients for Detroit?
Yeah, I think that oftentimes there's a brick cheddar blend that's used. Pittsburghers like mozzarella provolone, so that's what we use here. But yeah, oftentimes it's mainly the pan. Flour percentage, I think usually it sits between 11 and a half and like 13 and a half. Once you get up into the higher proteins, it gets a little more breadier and more structurally sound, let's call it. And then that'll chew a little bit different maybe, but I think we sit at 11 and a half or 12 and a half.
Cool. Now, in talking about these ingredients, it makes me wonder more about some of the origins of the pizzas, because each of these different styles is like, it starts, all this pizza kind of starts in the same way, right? Dough that you put something on and then you cook it in an oven, and that's pizza, right? Now, in the early days in Naples, that pizza was being baked directly on the floor of an oven. But sometimes people at home would bake things in pans, or like really in the early days of New York bakeries, I keep thinking of, people would bake pan pizzas in the beginning of the day and sell them at the bakery as like a bakery style pizza or focaccia or whatever the heck you want to call it. Tomato pie, sometimes they'll call it tomato pie. Like, Pete, is Detroit style baked in any kind of special pan versus a Sicilian pizza? Same thing with for Justin. I'm curious. Same thing for Roman. Anything special about that pan?
Yeah, we do a blue steel. It's just a blue steel pan. I got mine from a company in Italy called Agnelli. Pepe turned me on to it. So yeah, I mean, it has to be. I mean, those pans, man. If any of you guys, they get really hot too. They get really hot. The blue steel pans, but they just work. You got to season them. They're a pain in the ass. I got the fire department called on me twice seasoning these pans because the smoke just got nuts. Yeah.
What kind of oil were you using to season them?
Just olive oil. But I mean, you got to smoke these things out to get them to where they work, to where they don't stick, or to where they're not rubbing any stuff off on the dough. Takes a couple times. You got to do it more than two times or more to get these right.
What temperature were you seasoning that?
550, 600. But I mean, they smoked me out pretty good. It's happened to everybody. I thought I was the only one, but I asked Pepe, everybody that's done Romans, they pretty much, after a while, you got to open the doors. You got to open the flue on the oven. Yeah, it's definitely a trick to it. I haven't figured it out yet. I actually have a bunch of pans I haven't seasoned yet because I don't want to have the fire department come out again. So I have a bunch of them I haven't even used.
Justin, I mean, you could take this or leave this, but season them at like 425, and then you won't hit that smoke point, and the oil, the fat will plasticize, and you won't get the smoke, but you'll still get. Just try it. Just try it.
Oh, hey, you know what? I'm open to anything, man. I've learned something from all these guys, and through the years, I'll listen. I've called Chris. I talked to John about Pete. I mean, I'll ask anybody. I have no problems learning something new. So I learned something from Scott today.
Well, try it. I don't know. Just try it. I mean, I'm just thinking when I season stuff, when I'm cranked in the oven, the smoke alarm's going off. When I drop down.
If the fire department comes, I'll be calling you. I'll let you know.
FaceTime me. I want to see the action.
Yeah, for sure.
What about Detroit style? Pete, I know that like the Detroit style pan is kind of like a significant thing built into the history. Can you give us a little breakdown about that Detroit style pizza history and like how that pan fits into it?
I think Detroit classically, I actually just grabbed one of the pans. So these are one of our pans. classically they were, I would call them like pass trays that you would slide underneath the mechanical automobile back in Detroit in the day. I think somebody slapped some dough into here, baked it off, and that's a lot of it. But to us in Ironborn specifically, we try to really get that edge as crisp and sharp, so to speak, as possible, and then get that cheddar cheese outline. We use Lloyd. These are not seasoned. We do have to hand wash them. So we have tons of these. But so we just rotate and rifle through them as fast as we can, pretty much, if that makes sense. Less scraping, less seasoning. And I think, well, classically, these were blue steel as well. So blue steel in Detroit, I think unless you're from Detroit and probably one of the OGs of Detroit pizza, you don't have many blue steel pans because I can't find them.
Pete, what are you guys using to line those pans? Just oil, or using shortening or butter, or what?
We use canola oil, so we'll lay out all our day's work, oil them all, lay dough in, let it sit for a while, tap them out, let it sit for a longer while, and then we are a par-baked restaurant, so we'll bake them off from there and then rest them for service.
I think this is a really interesting point because you're all baking pizzas in pans. You're gonna lubricate the pan with something. Let's go around. I want to hear what's everybody using for that. Like John, for that grandma pie, how are you lubing up that pan?
Oil. Just oil.
Canola oil, olive oil, does it matter?
Olive oil, not canola oil. Like the one that we use, I think is actually, it's a blend of, actually I apologize, it is a blend. It's like a 50-50 canola and extra virgin. It's the one that Corto makes.
Yeah,
I forgot the name.
The 5149, whatever.
Yeah, 5149. I'm sorry. Yeah, that's the one.
Decker, what do you got?
Yeah. We use Corto extra virgin to line the pans, and then Pete touched on it also. We never wash the pan. I mean, we rinse it out, but that's it. That's the most important thing I think people make mistakes on is washing the pan. Like, if they send it through the dishwasher or whatever, forget it, and soap and all that stuff. We just rinse it off and wipe it out. And that's the best way. But yeah, as far as lining it, so I just wanted to touch on that but just as far as lining it, yeah, we just use the Corto extra virgin.
I think
a ton of it.
You just almost gave Justin like a waking nightmare when you said washing it out.
Yeah. So I use olive oil, extra virgin, doesn't matter what kind. I mean, that you got to line the pan. But yeah, I came back last week from a break, went somewhere, came back, and one of the new dishwashers washed like 8 of my pans. He's like, "Yeah, I washed your pans for you. They were like orange rust." Like, yeah, I'm like, "Oh my God, man." Like, he was trying to do something nice, new guy, trying to, "Hey, look what I did for you." And I'm like, "Oh my God." Yeah, never washed the blue steel. You can't wash. Matter of fact, Massimiliano's pans look like they've been through World War II. If you've ever seen them, he bangs them with a hammer. They got freaking dents in them. Like, no, to a Roman pizza maker, they carry their pans around like a shield. Like, no, it's really like a thing for them. So they keep their pans. Massimiliano used to bring his pans to the expo. Like, he had to have his pans. Nobody could use them. So anytime I would make a pizza at the expo, I used his pans. I'm like, "Let me borrow your pans." His pans have been through like back and forth to Italy. I don't know how many times, different pizzerias, but the pans do make a difference. And the longer they're seasoned and how long they've been sitting, like Chris said, if you rinse them, I don't know if he doesn't even rinse these. I mean, they won't wash them. That's just, yeah.
He won't even wet his pans?
No, I've never. No, olive oil and a rag to clean them. No water.
Can I just touch upon what Justin and Chris just mentioned? We prefer to use, instead of buying new Sicilian pans, we prefer to just refurbish the ones that we have. The older the pan, the better the bake you're gonna get.
Yep,
for sure.
Yep.
So
one of these Italian tricks, Johnny, me and John, we drip olive oil. You can tell by looking at these are little Italian tricks that you learn. But yeah, you don't mess with the pans, man. I know it sounds kind of maybe like not a hygienic thing, but you're par baking them. They're not getting sauce and all this stuff on them like a Detroit. It's different. So mine don't ever get. I mean, other than having the olive oil, you get a rag, little damp, you clean it out, and then you re-oil it, and that's it. That's it.
Justin, with those pans that you're using for the Roman, are those big, like rectangular ones with kind of that X indented in it?
Yes. Well, that's how I learned how to make them. But man, have you ever tried to stretch a pizza 60 by 40 or teach somebody else how to do it? Not easy. So a lot of the guys, they're either doing what I found. Yeah, it's a 60 by 40. So basically my pizzas are half of that, 16 by 12. I cut them down. It's pretty much half of that. And then people are doing the longer ones. Kevin in Pittsburgh, who's still doing Roman, his ones are just a rectangular but thinner. So it's a lot easier to stretch that dough out if you want to get that nice rise on it. I'm also doing something different with mine. I have to give a shout out to Julio. I don't even know if he makes pizza anymore, but I'm letting mine rise like Decker in the pan. A lot of Romans, they stretch them cold right out of the. Now when I stretch mine out, I wrap them in a bag just like a Sicilian, and I let them sit and let them rise. So great thing about working with people like in Orlando with Caputo is that they're all like a brotherhood. I could call anybody, ask them for, hey, how you do this, how you do that. Nobody has a problem sharing their little nuances and things that they've learned through the years. So, being in the pizza brotherhood with Orlando and with Caputo, man, I've learned so much just over the last year or so, and then all the years working with these guys. But every little thing helps, and you find your own way, you pick your own niche, and you make your pizza yours.
It's interesting you say it like that, because the reason that you're all so great on this panel right now is that you're all, sharing everything, which is so cool. And we mentioned Neapolitan pizza earlier, and I know, like, I met John when he was training for Neapolitan. Justin, you're a Neapolitan pizza maker. Neapolitan, you bake your pizzas at this crazy high temperature, and that's kind of part of the game. What temperatures are you baking these square pizza styles at?
I'm at I think like 610, like 600, 610 on mine. Electric oven.
600, 610 electric oven. Cool. What about Johnny Ches? What do you got cooking for the grandmas?
625. But when we deck it, so it goes like 6 to 7 minutes in an oven that's 625. It gets that nice color on the top once all the toppings melt, and then we take it out and we deck it at an oven that's about 550. So it's like a two-step process for our grandma. So you start it off, you bake the bottom, because one of the ovens we have, the top heat is very strong. It was custom made that way. So, and then once that part of the process is over, we slide it off the pan and we put it on the deck of another oven, which is at about 550 degrees.
If you haven't been to King Umberto in Elmont, Long Island, you need to visit, because they have a unique oven. And when I use the word unique, I'm really using it. This is an oven that they customize. When John just said custom oven, they put in bricks in the inside of the oven to create this extra radiant heat from the top. So that's why, you can give 20 pizza makers the same ingredients, and then some of them are going to have tricks like that up their sleeve, making a whole different pie. Unbelievable.
Yeah, the oven, from what I've learned over the past year, should be considered an ingredient when making pizzas. One of the most important ingredients when making a pizza is your oven. If you have the right oven, it will improve the quality of your pizza that much more.
Well, I'll be just to second on that. Especially with Neapolitan, when I first learned how to make it, the way how high the dome is to the deck makes all the difference in how a Neapolitan pizza cooks right or not. If you don't get an oven made to the specs from Naples, like the real Neapolitan pizza ovens, it's not going to work. Like I know Mara does one. Like for the Roman, what's most important about the Roman is being able to control the top and bottom temperature, different heat. So I have to have mine at a certain level on top and a certain level on bottom, and I know that it's consistent. I can cook. I par bake for 7 minutes, and then I cook the rest for 7 minutes. So 14-minute process to cook the whole pizza. But it's got to be at the top and bottom, the perfect setting. And you got to give electric ovens got to have time to recover, which is sometimes can be an issue, which is where your experience comes in, I guess.
What about for Detroit style, Pete? Well, is there a specific bake temperature for Detroit?
We bake, I lay mine out and probably bake on between 500 and 550. We have two different types of ovens. We have an electric and a gas oven, depending on which restaurant you work at. So that's kind of, as he said, your experience and time in the industry will help you deal with that type of thing. But yeah, our we bake at 525 for par bakes.
All right, so we got kind of a range, a 525 to 625 range for all these. And this is really kind of a cool thing for everyone watching at home who does not own a pizzeria, and you have a home oven. That you're not that far out of the range of a home oven, so people can bake these styles at home. I want to hear, what advice do you have for home pizza makers, standard oven? How can they achieve your style, your square pizza in a home oven?
Just a crazy story. So John was talking about the grandma. That's kind of where I was making pizzas when I was out of the pizza game, not doing pizza. You know, the biscuits that come in a can and you open them up and they pop. I used to make pizzas for people at work. I would spread that out on a pan and make a grandma and just put olive oil and garlic and cheese and put it in the oven. That was one. I used to do that when I wasn't making pizza, and everybody loved it. They were like, "Jesus, this is so good." And I didn't tell them I didn't make the dough or anything, but I'm like, man. But for people at home, a little olive oil, garlic, cheese, little oregano on top. That was the grandma pizza for me. That's where the grandma name came from. You get your grandma just make anything they can make Italian. You know, they throw something in a pan, put it 350 in the oven. You're gonna get something good out of it, right, John?
I think you just basically said the history. Scott, correct me if I'm wrong. Justin basically said the history of the grandma pizza. That's how it really started. The grandma pizza, I think, is, if you're gonna make a pizza at home, that's the perfect pizza to start with. It's the perfect pizza to bake at home. Although I did learn a trick from you during quarantine, where you set the oven temp to broil to increase that nice charriness on the top heat. If you're gonna use a grandma pizza, put it on the top deck, start it off at broil, let your stone set on the bottom deck, let it get nice and hot, and then when the time comes, once you see that the toppings are all melted, put it on that stone on the bottom deck, and you should get a nice crisp on the bottom as well. But Justin, that's really funny that you said that, because I think you basically just described the history of grandma pizza. So that's funny, man.
I'm sure we've eaten the same similar styles of pizza at home with our family. That's pizza. I mean, everybody has those. If you talk to guys like Anthony Mangieri, used to cook Neapolitan pizzas on the deck of his fireplace at home in Jersey. Every Italian, I mean, not just Italian, but when you grow up like that, you find lots of different ways to make pizza. I mean, it's in our blood, man.
I love that. For someone like me, it's not in my blood. So I got to ask people like you to tell me how can I do this at home? What about for Sicilian pizza? Decker, I want to make Sicilian pizza at home. I don't have a pizza oven. And I, just to be honest, maybe I don't want to spend 5 days doing it.
Yeah.
What do you suggest?
Well, during this whole quarantine too, I think for us anyway, so many people have come and they buy the dough, they buy sauce, they buy cheese. Everyone was selling pizza kits and all those other things. I think it really helped the home pizza maker. You just with ours, you just need time. So you gotta plan. It's not a instantaneous thing. You got to at least let it proof overnight. So, ours, you have to at least think about a day ahead of time, which is, people aren't as good at that with allowing themselves that much time. But if you want to make the Sicilian, for sure, you need to proof it overnight and let it rise. And then, and going back to the temperature, we par bake at 450. So, you have to par bake it, let it set. And then what we do is cool it, wrap it, freeze it, and then start over again. So there are a lot of steps. So making the Sicilian at home is going to be, everyone's got their own way. I don't expect a home pizza maker to do what we do, but you at least got to go a day ahead of time.
I don't think that's crazy to ask somebody to pan out a dough, let it rise, bake it at 425, cool it off, wrap it up, freeze it in a home freezer, man. Come on.
and then start again tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, well, so we figured out something during the pandemic, which is great. I'll give them a shameless plug here, but Goldbelly, we figured out a way to freeze bake pizzas and freeze them. Not only are we doing it with Goldbelly, but we do them for the pizzeria where people, let's say they do want to take it home and don't want to eat it right then and there. So I'm cryo wrapping pizzas, and Romans are great for that because they're much better than most other pizzas reheated. So
smart plan. Well, everyone's got to go out to order some of your pizza anywhere they are. Pete, I'm curious to hear about, since Detroit style is such a big catch-on buzzy thing right now, how can people make a Detroit style pizza at home? And do they have to go out and buy one of those funky pans that you held up?
I don't think personally you need to go get the pan. I would do it kind of in the grandma style. Find the pan you like, or if you have a cast iron pan you keep around that is well oiled and well taken care of, you'll have no issue. So I would just lay out the pan. You could Google online probably how much dough you would need for your specific pan, and then go from there. Oil it down and set it up, and then if you're going to bake it at home, all these guys mentioned a pizza stone. It's worth spending the money on a pizza stone, if not two. And then add oil to your dough for pan style pizzas, because it'll make that bottom layer more slick and crispy.
You're all killing me right now because I'm thinking about, I'm thinking about pizza all the time anyway. And now talking to the four of you and looking at the picture behind Pete's head, it's driving me nuts. If you want to know more about Justin Piazza's stuff, look him up. It's La Piazza. He's in Phoenix, Arizona. Pete's stuff is called Ironborn Pizza. He's in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. 2 locations, right?
Yep, 2 locations.
There you go. Giovanni Cesarano in Elmont, Long Island, making a bunch of different styles, but that thin grandma is amazing. But don't miss out. He's making bombolini right now.
Jesus.
And it kills me because I want nothing more than to go, but I got rid of my car 2 years ago. So I'm gonna make it out there. If I have to crawl.
They got trains, man. They got trains.
I know, man, but it's a real pain in the rump. You know what I'm saying? I'll bike out there.
If you bike out here, that means you could have 2 bomboloni with all the calories you burn.
Yeah.
So you could have a Nutella and a pistachio and a grandma pizza.
I know for sure when I get back to East Coast, one of the first places I'm going is out to see Johnny out there on the island for sure.
Justin, I'll meet you at the airport. We'll go together. So Chris Decker, last and not least, of course, Chris Decker at Metro Pizza in Las Vegas. I want to thank the 4 of you. I want to thank everybody for joining us at New York City Pizza Festival. This is totally amazing. Look on the website and look at the list of participating pizzerias, which you're seeing them in front of you right now. And when you buy a pizza from those participating pizzerias this weekend, then part of the proceeds go to benefit Slice Out Hunger, which is a hunger relief nonprofit. And we're just so delighted to have you all here. Enjoy the rest of the programming and have an amazing
pizza. Yeah, miss you guys.
Yeah, we'll see you soon.
Yeah, we'll see you guys.
We'll see you guys soon.